Hambini fans, and welcome to another episode of the Hambini Engineering Show. In today's episode, all the way from the South China Sea, representing the Kingdom of Xiamen, we have these, which are Elite Drive wheels. Now these were sent to me from Elite for me to review. They've also sent them to various other YouTubers. I think I'm the only person who's got the 40 version, and that's the one that is on test. I will go through some of the technical bits and then PowerPoint. Okay, so they are 40mm rim brake version of the wheel. The outside diameter is 29.4, probably about 29 to 30mm. Read upside down. The internal diameter is about 20. That's what I've got. 20. I think it's quoted as 19, but 19 or 20, somewhere around there. That's 19 there. So yeah, that's what we've got. So starting at the external edge of the wheel, you've got this brake track which has been machined in. Now this is really good when it rains. The initial bite you get is fantastic. It's very similar, almost identical to the one on the Fast Sports wheels. And for that reason, you know, in the wet, really good. Then the 40mm profile, it is quite blunt because it's quite wide, so there's no real taper on it. Then you've got nipples, which are, in this case, the ones on the far side are fairly shallow. The ones on the near side are quite pronounced. They're nothing like the JRA wheels that we had, but you know, that's where they are. Now these spokes are they're like a taper in the wrong direction to hold it in. So there's no bond per se. The metal bit is an adverse taper, so as you pull, you actually push or pull onto the taper. So the chance of it coming out is fairly slim. So the carbon spokes, and these are quite wide. They're about the same width as the Windspace ones. They're not quite as wide as the Fast Sports. And then coming through, then we have the hub. The hub's got ceramic bearings in it. And you know, this is the hub that we've got. This apparently is the version 1.5 hub. So that's what Elite told me. They've got a new version of it. There were some issues around bearing retention, but I've not had an issue with this one, so I can't really comment. The hub looks like fairly generic Chinese manufacture. This whole area where the straight pull spokes hook in is, from an aerodynamic point of view, quite rough because you've got no shroud around it. So some of the other manufacturers, notably Fast Sports, even Zip, they tend to cover that. It's much more pronounced on the far side, but again, this is the back wheel, so you have to, you know, take that into account. The hub assembly itself runs on a 17mm axle front and rear. I'll take them apart for you in a second. Now the only real problem I had when building this up was the lock nut. So this is the Shimano lock nut, and I found it felt like it was going to strip. Now I've just undone this one so you can see it. It's usually a lot tighter than that, but you can see the difference between the one I made and the Shimano originally. This one's a lot deeper, so you get much better retention on there. That one felt like it was going to strip because there's a relief in there, so you're only on about 2 threads before it engages. Now okay, not everyone's going to make one, but this also results, and I noticed when I took this off, okay, I've cleaned it, so it is a bit of a fix. There's hardly any damage to okay, there's a few little grooves, but there's hardly any damage to the free hub. And I don't think that's as a result of the hub being made of some super material. It feels like aluminium. I think that's mainly as a result of that providing more clamping force. Rear wheel assembly is 727 grams. Front assembly is 594 grams. Now both the front and rear hubs have this, it's like clear coat anodizing on them. it's really quite nice because, okay, the dirt does stick to it, but I think it visually is a decent contrast on your bike. Which one's going to come out? Yeah, this side. If I undo this, you can see inside. So the factory fill grease is not the red stuff. I put that in afterwards. So that's Mobil. I'd certainly recommend that. The chap from Mobil sent me some and said try this, and it's really quite impressive. The only thing I would say is machining quality on here, on the axle, is quite poor. It's quite poor on the rear side as well. And I'll show you that in detail. Now there are a couple of notches in here. I'm not quite sure why they're there, because the axle cap doesn't have any corresponding notches in it. I suspect it's there so you can hold it, so you can take the other side out, but they're just scabby. They're not particularly, I mean the ends are really sharp. I wouldn't say it's the end of the world, but it's not really good machining practice. These bearings are 6803, the 6803 on the other side, so it's a 17mm axle. It's about the biggest one that you can get. And one of the problems with hub design is trying to hold that axle while you try and take it out. So they've put 2 slots in there so you can hold the axle down while you take it out. But what we can do is put an Allen key in there, flip this over, and then crack it. If all goes well, like that. So inside we've got a 4-pole ratchet. It is quite a wide ratchet in the grand scheme of things. I've seen ones that are a lot narrower than that. It's got 6803 bearings inside the free hub and a spacer tube for the preload, which you can see me wiggling my finger on. The red grease is the Mobil grease that I put in afterwards. The yellow grease is the factory fill. Now the factory fill, I didn't think there was actually enough grease in there, so I put some more in. Now Windspace were, in certain forums, said they didn't have enough grease in. I don't know if it's the same hub manufacturer or what, but anyway, I put some more in, and not really had any issues. Now the bearing seats on here are absolutely cock on. So they are 17mm or 16.99. Okay, there's a bit of deviation in my vernier. Yeah, absolutely perfect. Looks like it's been ground, which on aluminium is not the easiest thing to do. As always, there's a spacer in there, which if you take them apart, make sure you do not lose that, because that can cause you a world of pain. Look extremely carefully, you can see some very small bite marks. It might not show up that well because it's a black background with a black behind the background and foreground. But really, there's a big one there. There's hardly any wear on there. Now, I know some people are obsessed by ratchet noise. These are quite noisy. It is that time of the show again. It is time for PowerPoint. In today's presentation, we've got a check to see if the pen is working. Yes, indeed we have. Right, the Elite Drive 40V. Now, they have been sending these wheels out to all sorts of YouTubers around, and I am one of them. By Hambini, aged 5. Remember to look me up on Shitstagram or Crapstagram and on Patreon. Now, the Patreon, I am expanding that, so there'll be a lot more stuff that you can only get on Patreon. I'm just not very good at internet stuff. I've only just learnt how to use Nginx. I didn't even know it was called Nginx. Anyway, right, we digress. Right, Elite Wheels. Now, loads of people in the comments were saying, get a set of Elite Wheels, get a set of Elite Wheels. Are they any good? Blah, blah, blah. They sent me some. They are a Chinese OEM supplier of wheels. And they said, I mean, this is the stuff that I found out about them. It started in 2013. This is quite an impressive statistic, I suppose. They sell, this is according to them, 10,000 wheel sets per year on AliExpress. That's an incredible number. I I don't know how that stacks up against others, but that's an incredible number. As I mentioned previously, they were very popular, or are very popular in the YouTube comments. Right, spec, 40mm, rim brake. The rim brake is important. I've also got a set of disc brake wheels, which I will review shortly. To be honest, I prefer the rim brake because A, they don't rub, and B, they're faster. so you know, it's just win-win. I don't know why there's an obsession with disc, especially because they warp. Right. Rear wheel was 727 grams, front wheel was 594. It gives you a total weight of about 1320. The key thing to take away from this is the inertia, which we'll come to later on. The measured rim width was approximately 30mm. That's on the wide side. 19mm for the internals, those people who are interested in that sort of stuff. Carbon bladed spokes, and they are quite wide. Ceramic bearings. Right. The nipples were exposed. Everyone loves exposed nipples. And if you buy the wheels, and didn't really show it, it comes with the skewers, spare rim tape, valves, various bits and pieces. Right, wheel build quality. Right, so these have been mainly run in summer. Regular run out was less than 0.4. I mean, it's just a small number, basically 0. I wouldn't really go fretting about that. Lateral run out 0.2, and again, that's just what the dial read, and that's going to be way tighter than your average wheel run out machine, so I doubt Mitutoyo will be out by that much. All the spoke flats were in line, and when I checked the tension, it was all fairly even. Now the rim manufacturer looks extremely clean. In fact, I've never seen a rim quite as clean as that. That is the dog's knob. Without doubt, very well made. There's virtually zero excess epoxy, no voids, and it just looks immaculate inside. Now, some people are going to say, oh, it's a Hambini special. I can't say one way or the other whether it's Hambini special or not, but I mean, look at it. It is perfect. Very good. Now, in fairness, you know, if you got a Fast Sports or a Windspace wheel, they are, you know, of the same sort of league. And I mean, that Polaris wheel we had on last week and the Just Riding Along wheel, utter garbage. Both of them, crap. Loads of wrinkles, loads of voids. That means you have to over-engineer the object to maintain the same weight. This one, it's just very good. Very clean. Nothing there. Here's another shot of it. Just nothing. Can't say anything about it. Very good. Right, bearings. Bearing fits were all fine. They were all like M7, which is perfectly acceptable. It's a 6.8. Well, it's an 03 based system. So 03 is 17mm. So if it was 02, and a lot of Hunt wheels are 02, it's 15mm. And 01 is 12mm. And some of the Mavic wheels are like less than 10. But that's what you've got. You've got 17mm based. There's one 6903 on the drive side of the rear hub. That's about it. The rest are all 6803. There's no real issues in that regard in terms of the fit. The residual imbalance. Now, what I've done here is I've depicted the imbalance lines by way of an angle and by way of an intensity. So the longer the line, the bigger the intensity. On there's the Elite Drive, the Fast Sports, and the Windspace. All three of those wheels are very good, and in a heartbeat, I'd buy any of them, even the Elite ones that I'm talking about now. But the Elite wheels, the imbalance is very low. It's just over 100 grams, 100 gram millimeters, which is low. Now the limit value would be 600. And given that the Fast Sports and the Windspace wheels are considerably deeper, the line might make it look bad, but it's not. They're both very good. I just put that on there because that's the kind of people you're going to go to if you're going to select these wheels or Fast Sports or Windspace. So yeah, either of them. 600 is the limit, so the 600 will be about here. But all three of them well within, and the Elite especially is very, very good. The moment of inertia of these wheels is extremely low. That comes from two things. The first is it's a very shallow wheel, and then the second is that weight is not concentrated on the outside of the wheel. It tends to be the hub where that weight is. So when you put your foot down, typically going off a set of traffic lights, I mean, you can feel the difference. It is very, very noticeable when you're going off. So when these journalists, who obviously know everything, say, oh, the wheel's really responsive, but they say the wheel's really responsive for an 80mm wheel, they're talking out of their big, fat, rear ends. This is the mathematical, the theory and the engineering application of moment of inertia. So, wheel, very good. Now, in terms of stability, aerodynamic stability, we've got a few wheels on there. The Fastsports 1-2, Windspace Hyper 65, Windspace Hyper 50, Elite Drive 40, and the Polaris 69. Now, you can clearly see the difference on the Elite wheels. So it's a much shallower wheel. So its line, which I'm just going to go over. God, look at my following of the line. My pen, oh, I missed it there. My pen is working beautifully there. Right, that red line that I've just drawn is clearly a different shape to the others. So they were modelling Dmitriev number and the stability criteria. Normally you'd say, I mean, the arbitrary value that me and my mates use is 1. So if you go above 1, which is this line here, your wheel is unstable. So you've got a very, very small window where this wheel becomes unstable. It really have to be basically a hurricane, and then you've got other problems to worry about before you get blown off your bike. It's not really, it's almost immune to that. And that's not any fancy pants aerodynamics, that's just the law of geometry, and it's not a massive side area that you've got to take into account. So the way that stability tends to occur is you get a pressure build up on one side of the wheel that's much higher than the pressure on the other side of the wheel, and then it suddenly collapses. At the point of collapse, that's when the instability arises. If you've got constant pressure differential, what you'll do is you'll just lean your bike over and then ride along, but it's the collapse that causes the problem. Right, Tit Bits, the good. I said this before, it's a very, very low inertia wheel. It accelerates fast. Stability is best in class. I can't really say much more about that. Extremely well made. I mean, I've spoken about that before. And the braking performance, it has these, there's a term for it, but it just basically looks like slits cut into the brake track. Once you put those slits in, the braking stability, especially in the wet, is really good. Fastsports wheels have it as well, and both of these wheels, you can see I mean, you can feel the difference. It's like day and night when it's wet. The initial bite is there. And it's survived fairly brutal abuse, so I've gone up curbs, down curbs, bunny hopped it, I just treated it like dirt, and it's handled that quite well. Right, the bad. I'll press the button twice. Right, it's a wide wheel, so if you want the ultimate straight line performance, it's not the wheel to go for. You're better off getting a very, very deep wheel. Its performance for a 40mm wheel is okay. It's not exceptional, but it's okay. And then you've also got the front hub, which has a load of cutouts in it, which I guess is there to reduce your weight. It does impact the aerodynamics, but that loss in weight gives you the acceleration, which is something I quite like. I didn't really realise I liked that before, but I've swaying away from like the 50-60mm wheels and now going towards something shallower because I like the fast acceleration. Right, bearing life was average. They aren't like the dog's knob bearings, but it is average. So that's where we are. Right, questions and comments. Please comment below, like and subscribe. Remember to follow me on Shitstagram. Patreon, you can follow me on Hambini on Patreon, and the website hambini.com. Now, as far as these wheels go, I would recommend them. In rim brake, 40mm, I've not had any real issues with them, and they've been fairly bulletproof. I guess the argument or the decision that some people will make is, do you want the out and out speed or just a wheel that will just work all the time? And the acceleration, and that's really going to come down to the individual. Now, if you are going to go after the out and out speed, you're better off with a wind space, probably the 50 or the Fast Sports 56. But then the drawback there is you won't get as fast acceleration. So you could probably chop and choose, put wind space on the back and then or wind space on the front and then Elite on the back, whatever. But that's where we are. So overall, definitely recommend the wheels. Can't really fault them. I'll put a link to them in the comments box or the description below. Thanks very much for watching, and as always, keep banging your hairdresser.